update from Jaguar Health, trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol JAGX. It's a commercial stage pharmaceuticals company focused on developing novel proprietary prescription medicines sustainably derived from plants from rainforest areas for people and animals with gastrointestinal distress. Happy to welcome back CEO, President, Director, and Founder Lisa Conte. Welcome back, Lisa. Looking forward to hearing your update.
Thank you very much. And this is a great time for an update because we just put news out yesterday. Of course, we're going to forward-looking statements. We're a public company. And before I get to the news, just remind everybody that we do our drug discovery from plants used traditionally in tropical areas, prescription drug development, and we do have a product on the market. The active ingredient is Crofelemer, and the brand name is Mytesi, and Mytesi is approved for HIV-related diarrhea. But the news that you're going to hear at this moment has to do with follow-on indications. Crofelemer is a pipeline within a product, and the two follow-on indications in late stage of development are for cancer therapy-related diarrhea and for the orphan indications of intestinal failure with short bowel syndrome and MVID. In these two indications, cancer and the orphan indications, we have had major catalysts that have occurred and are occurring real time, and that we feel will be transformative for the value recognition of the company. So here's the news that we just put out yesterday. In MVID, which is an ultra rare disease, probably around 200 patients around the world, we have shown a reduction in parenteral nutrition of about 27%. And this has been accepted for presentation at North American Society for Pediatric Gastroenterology, NAFSCAM annual meeting that is in November of this year in Chicago. And we have been granted a face-to-face meeting with the FDA to talk about how we can expedite the approval of this product for an ultra-rare population on potentially a single-digit number of patients. So let me put in perspective what MVID is and the intestinal failure associated with that. It's a genetic disorder where the patient's intestine is fully intact, but it's not functioning. So the patient has to go on total parenteral nutrition from the moment that they're born, IV nutrition, because they can't absorb the nutrients of life, protein, carbs, vitamins, etc. If they're not diagnosed initially, they will die. So then they're on parenteral nutrition, typically about 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. So as you can imagine, very, very difficult quality of life for the child, the caretakers, the family, but also quite a bit of toxicity associated with liver toxicity, hepatic toxicity. Patients never get on the right growth curve, cognitive deficits. Typically, they die when they're about 12, 13, 14 years old. Also complications with being on the IV line. The most important thing that can be done for these patients for the modification of their disease progression is the opportunity to reduce TPN. Nothing is in development. Nothing has been able to ever reduce the TPN requirement for these patients. And for the first time, we presented data for the first patient with the 27% reduction. It was really groundbreaking. And what was fascinating, it was presented for the first time at the PEDALI Congress, which was in Abu Dhabi in May of this year. And there were two patients that were presented. One was MVID, and one was intestinal failure in a short bowel syndrome patient. So the same issue, there's not enough surface area for the patient to absorb their nutrients of life, and they're on TPN 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Different situation. It's because there's not the intestine is short rather than simply not functioning. We now have multiple clinical trials that are going on. This is the same product for these two different indications. The ultra-rare indication, MVID, could potentially, with expedited approach with regulatory agencies, be available to patients by the end of 2026 with regulatory approval. Short bowel syndrome would be thereafter. The short bowel syndrome market is considered a $5 to $7 billion market opportunity. And this is, as I said, a major, major transformative event for the company, which is the subject of business development and partnering conversations. We do now have 4 MVID patients, one that has been completed, 3 more that are in clinical trials. The patient that was treated was then, after 12 weeks, taken off crofelemer, relapsed, and within 10 days had to be put back on, and now in a compassionate use will be receiving product for the rest of their life. We are continuing also with our cancer program. We've met with the FDA for that program and have a pathway cleared for an expedited pathway to gain regulatory approval in metastatic breast cancer patients, another orphaned indication. And these are all the subject of business development conversations ongoing. The last thing that I do want to mention is that we do have crofelemer approved for chemotherapy-induced diarrhea in dogs, approved by the Center of Veterinary Medicine of the FDA, which is remarkably similar to the impact on the patient that you see in humans and dogs. So very interesting situation. In the United States, if you're a cancer patient experiencing diarrhea, you can receive education and promotion about crofelemer from the company if you're a dog, but not a human, but not yet. So let me conclude my comments at this moment. Do we have times for any questions?
Let's see. We are out of time because our next presenter is coming on, but that's great news. Lisa, thank you for this great update, and we certainly hope you'll come back real soon with some more great news like this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. We'll be right back.